What's up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the boundlessly boisterous Dr. Disaster. And it looks like the mainstream media has found another way to try to protect their darlings over at Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Shadows obviously just released the other day, and it seems like game journalists are going out of their way to ignore its primary competition.
I don't believe you. It's another trick.
Yeah, the journalists are feigning blindness. Nobody in the media is talking about this game here, the First Berserker Khazan. This is a AAA game from a South Korean developer, and it looks gorgeous and fun as hell. And despite the fact that journalists are largely not reviewing this game, large chunks of them ignored it on Metacritic as an example, which I'm going to show you in a minute here, but despite the cold shoulder that the media has given this game, and despite the fact that the marketing budget for this title is clearly minuscule compared to the likes of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it doesn't even release for another few days, the First Berserker has already overtaken Assassin's Creed Shadows on the Steam top sellers list. It is currently sitting at number 4 on that list, which is a bit of a cause for celebration. Meanwhile, Assassin's Creed Shadows, less than a week after release, has dropped down to number 5.
Oh, we lamb.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also, don't forget to support the channel by becoming a member. There are multiple exclusive projects you won't want to miss out on that will be available to members only, including audiobook of dark fantasy novels that I've written and a space pirate cartoon. There will be more information soon, but it occurs to me that we can't just point out the things we don't like in our culture, we have to push the things we do like. So, if you're interested in supporting that sort of thing, consider becoming a member of the channel. In any event though, let's see what's going on with this game, the First Berserker Khazan, which wasn't very high on my radar until recently, but now I'm thinking I might have to pick it up, especially if the game journalists are ignoring it like this. Now, I'll throw this out there, I'm not the biggest fan of Souls-like titles. It's a genre that I can play, but I don't typically enjoy it as much as others, and I've definitely gone on record in the recent past saying that I feel the genre is a bit oversaturated in the market, it's a bit overdone. However, when a game looks as phenomenal as this one does, there really is no ignoring it. And what makes this all the more impressive is that this is from a division of Nexon, a studio that works under the Nexon umbrella, and they've never really done a game like this before at Nexon. But this is just another example of a South Korean studio swooping in and doing what the Western studios refuse to do. They've made a game featuring a buff, masculine character who doesn't apologize for his masculinity, and he just goes around kicking ass. And as a result, the game is selling. Now, I can already hear all the Ubisoft ass-kissers out there complaining and saying, wait a minute, how can you say that this game is selling and that Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't? And in response to that, let me just let you in on a little secret. Context is everything, muchachos. Ubisoft's budget for Assassin's Creed Shadows is known to be multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, and their marketing campaign is massive as well, not to mention the fact that Shadows has the advantage of being a part of one of the biggest franchises in video game history. Assassin's Creed is iconic. And to top it off, all the game journalists are out there shilling for this Assassin's Creed Shadows game in a big way. They have written tons of articles trying to talk people into playing this game. Hell, a bunch of these guys are intentionally conflating the number of players statistic that Ubisoft is touting with number of copies sold. Meanwhile, the First Berserker Khazan's budget is unknown, but since it isn't a Ubisoft or EA game, chances are it is much more reasonable. It's likely comparable to something like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which had a budget of around $50 million. The marketing campaign for the First Berserker is virtually non-existent. I've yet to see a single commercial in any of the articles that I've read or videos I've watched. Apparently, this game is based off the world of Dungeon Fighter Online, which is admittedly a known IP, though nowhere near the same brand recognition as Assassin's Creed. And as for whether or not journalists are going to shill for this game, let me direct you to what we are seeing on Metacritic. This is the Metacritic page for Assassin's Creed Shadows. As you can see, the number of critic reviews for this game is 78. All of the major outlets naturally reviewed this game, and those reviews were available basically the instant that the review embargo lifted. There were a few stragglers, but they were all quick to review Shadows. And for reference, here's the Metacritic for Monster Hunter Wilds. That one has 97 reviews. Or check out the Metacritic for Kingdom Come 2. They got 68 reviews. Most game releases get somewhere in that ballpark. Now, if we're talking about an independent AA kind of release, that would be one thing. I could see why these game journos wouldn't review something like that. But the First Berserker is a AAA title, and this is the Metacritic page for this game. As you can see here, at the time of this recording, it has only 20 reviews. This is what game journalists do when they encounter games that don't fit their narrative. They ignore them. They did it last fall to Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. That game still only has 8 reviews. The journalists really didn't want to talk about that game because it features an attractive female character, and we can't have that. The media did the same thing a few months back with Marvel Rivals. Very few reviewers touched that game for 2 reasons as far as I can tell. First of all, just like Lollipop Chainsaw, that game features attractive female characters. And second of all, Rivals comes from a Chinese studio, and game journalists aren't in the bag for these unconventional Eastern studios that are taking over the gaming industry. The thing is, these Western game journalists just don't have the same access to most of these Eastern studios that they enjoy in the West, and without that relationship, these journalists are much icier. So, with all that in mind, the First Berserker is from Nexon, a South Korean studio that put out The First Descendant, a game that the game journalists absolutely despise for showing too much skin. They don't care for Nexon. And also, the main character is a brutish, Conan-looking dude who kicks ass and takes names. In other words, he's the opposite of the characters that most game studios are pumping out nowadays, and these game journalists would rather pretend that this game doesn't exist. This is why it is so extraordinary that the game is doing so well on Steam. I mean, this isn't another First Descendant situation. For as much as people celebrated that game doing well, rubbing it in the face of the woke progressives who can't stand attractive female characters, that game was free. So the player count on Steam was definitely less impressive than it could have been. The First Berserker cost $60 though, so this game's meteoric rise to near the top of the Steam charts is legit. They currently have over 40,000 followers, which I'd like to point out is actually more than the number that we saw from Assassin's Creed Shadows when it was a few days away from its release. Basically, it's looking like the First Berserker, at least on Steam, is gonna have a similar release to Shadows, which is very good for a studio like Nexon. As I've said many times before, the Eastern studios are filling in the gaps that Western studios refuse to fill, and as a result, they are taking over the industry. But I'm going to leave it there. What do you make of this game, the First Berserker Khazan? It definitely has my interest piqued, but drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.